Welcome to the Bulldog Beat Basketball Show, presented by Two Hats Ranch. I'm the voice of the Bulldogs, Rob Bentley, alongside Sandy Golston, as we get set for the NCAA Division II Midwest Regional Tournaments this coming weekend. And Sandy, obviously, both the Ferris State basketball teams in the national tournament once again, and some great news for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's just tremendous news, and playing in such a difficult conference as the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference in a region like this one, you know, you're going to be challenged and you're going to face adversity. And to see the video of those two teams having an opportunity to step back after their conference tournaments were over and to be able to celebrate getting into the NCAA tournament. It's a new season now with the NCAA tournament. Everybody's 0-0. I mean, you have a seed, but everybody's 0-0, and it's a fresh start for these teams, and they both have earned their way in.
Of course, we had a busy weekend, a long weekend this past weekend. Wednesday night, both Ferris State teams at home in the quarterfinal round of the conference tournament. Both got wins, which means they move on in March Madness. And we had a chance to go up to Houghton, Michigan. A great environment. The Bulldogs unfortunately fall short against Lake Superior on the men's side in the semifinal round. And then quickly back to Allendale the following day to watch the Bulldog women play for a GLIAC tournament championship against Grand Valley.
Well, we were definitely bouncing all over the place over the weekend. And 4:30 a.m. start on the road and then a 5 a.m. start on the road, and got a chance to call a game. We went to almost both extremes geographically of the state of Michigan to be able to call those games, and it was worth it to be able to have that experience and to be able to bring that to the fans. And, you know, we're grateful, obviously, for Brandon Worth, who did a great job calling a game in there as well when we couldn't get to one of the women's games. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of excitement for us and a lot of coffee on the way. But it was a great experience.
Of course, we'll have a chance this weekend to call both teams once again. The women's team taking the court on Friday down at the Grand Valley State Fieldhouse Arena in the Midwest Regional for the second year in a row, as they will take on the second-seeded Eagles of Ashland University at 2:30 start on Friday. We'll have the pregame coverage right around 2 o'clock on Sunny 97.3, and of course online at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. And then once that game is done, we'll be off to Springfield, Illinois for the Midwest Regional on the men's side. 8:30 Eastern time start for the Ferris State men on Saturday night, as the number 5 seeded Bulldogs will take on 4th seeded Missouri St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, two really good opponents for us. On the women's side, of course, and on the men's side. And you know, once you get into NCAA tournament, you know, just like we've always said about the GLIAC, it's a gauntlet. Every night or afternoon, you're going to be tested tremendously. And the same holds true, obviously, for the NCAA tournament. You're seeing the best of the best from the region, the best of the best from your regional other conferences. And so, you know, you got to be ready to go. And, you know, you get a chance to go to practice and you see the preparation and how extra serious, not that they don't take the regular season serious or the conference tournament serious, but it steps up a little bit more for the teams that are fortunate to make it into this field.
Of course, should be an exciting weekend of basketball. The women with a win would play on Saturday night as well. Brandon would step in and have the call of that game on Saturday night for the Bulldog fans. Of course, on the men's side, if they win, they would play Sunday night in the regional semifinals. The women's final is on Monday night, the men's final on Tuesday night. We hope to have a chance to go back and forth and call both of those games on Monday and Tuesday, much like we did a year ago.
How exciting it would be if we can run it back and do what we did last year, which was just amazing experience. You know, with the regionals and then, of course, with the national tournaments. And so that was an exciting time for us to be able to do that. And we're certainly looking forward to bringing the action to the fans. And, you know, we love our Bulldog fans and, you know, they're excited about Bulldog basketball, and any college basketball fan is excited about March Madness. And so we're looking to bring the madness to the fans.
Of course, March Madness takes a lot of work for the host institutions. Got to give a big shout out this past weekend. I thought Michigan Tech and Grand Valley both did an excellent job in hosting the GLIAC Final Four.
There's no question about it. And, you know, having a chance to go up there and experience that up there at Tech, and just good people. That was actually my first opportunity to really call a basketball game up at Michigan Tech. And so it was great, and got a chance to experience a Northern Michigan Tech rivalry game at Tech, and which was a fun game as well. And then down to Grand Valley, did a great job down there. Their team does such a good job of hosting, and congrats to them. Grand Valley played a phenomenal game to be able to win that GLIAC championship, as we were able to watch Northern Michigan win the men's GLIAC tournament championship. So just a great weekend all around of you know, GLIAC tournament basketball. Obviously, we'd love to have a couple of Bulldog victories, but you know, things are done really well in the GLIAC.
Of course, you speaking of the GLIAC, we had a chance to interact with some of the coaches. We ran into Steve Headinga, the Lake Superior coach, Matt Mackerzak, the Northern Michigan coach. Didn't get a chance to catch up with Coach Bittner, the Michigan Tech coach, but we've interacted with him plenty of times. The women's side, Coach Williams in Grand Valley, his assistant coach, Phil Sayers. Some great people here in the GLIAC, and it's nice to see some of these other GLIAC teams in the NCAA tournament, 4 on each side from the men's and the women's sides.
Yeah, just some first of all, great coaches. I mean, there is some great coaching going on in the GLIAC, and then some great people, just competitive as all get out in games, but friendly, easygoing to talk to, and had a chance to as you mentioned, the coaches that you mentioned right there. I talked to Coach Sayers from Grand Valley after the game. Didn't have a chance to catch up with Coach Williams. He was kind of surrounded by a lot of people, of course, after their championship victory. But it's really great to know that so many of our student athletes around the GLIAC are in great hands with great coaches and great people.
Of course, should be 2 outstanding regional tournaments, as we mentioned. The men's tournament, little unique. Missouri S&T, the number 1 seed, will host the event, but it's going to be played in Springfield, Illinois. There's a large event that takes place each and every year in Rolla, Missouri, so they did not get a chance to host it on their home floor, which puts this really as a neutral site for all the 8 teams that will take part in the men's event.
It is a true neutral site, and selfishly, it's closer for us. So I mean, not that we aren't counting miles, but it's. I guess it's fortunate for them that they still have an opportunity to kind of host it a little bit, even though it is going to be at a true neutral site. And so, but it's an exciting time of the year for the NCAA tournament. And I know for Missouri S&T is the kind of the host school, quote unquote, it's still a great opportunity for them, as well as the other 7 teams that are in the regional. And so this is, you're playing for all the marbles. You're playing to get one of those big trophies. And so there's a lot on the line.
Of course, on the women's side, Grand Valley State will host this for the 2nd year in a row. They do a great job. Alex Wise, assistant AD for facilities down there, has been a tremendous host. We saw that a year ago. We saw it this past weekend. And, it's going to be very highly competitive on the women's side. You got 3 teams that were right there a year ago, and you think of Grand Valley, Ashland, and Ferris State all back in the field.
Yeah, just some great teams, and all 3 of those teams with outstanding head coaches, and all programs that have had success. Varying levels of success, and it's really hard because the competition is so tough. The field is so tough. But, being a part of that is it is what it is, and you have to be able to compete against that. And last year, Ferris State was able to win that regional tournament last year. They ran a tremendous gauntlet to be able to win that regional tournament and then into the Elite Eight and then into the Final Four. And so who's going to emerge this year? I don't know. I mean, there's some really good teams. You mentioned Grand Valley, Ashland, of course, very, very good, and Ferris State. Give Ferris State a lot of credit with the injuries that we faced this year on the hardwood. To see our team continue to pull together and stay tight together to continue to win and get themselves back into the NCAA tournament is just a tremendous testament to the young ladies on that team and to the coaching staff.
Of course, I mentioned Grand Valley and Ashland. You can't forget about Northern Michigan was there a year ago. Yes. Lewis, we had a chance to beat Lewis in the first round last year. They're back in the field. So some tremendous programs here that year in and year out are competing to get back into the national tournament.
That's a great point. I mean, Lewis we've seen there many, many years, and Northern's doing a really good job with their program. And we had a couple of tough regular season games against Northern this year that did not go our way, to say the least. But our Bulldogs did bounce back and get a great win over Northern Michigan, a really good Northern Michigan team in the GLIAC tournament, Rob, that maybe propelled us back into the NCAA tournament. So that was a huge win. But that's how competitive it is in the GLIAC. And I'm sure if you go to the GLVC, they'll say the same thing. If you go to the GMAC, they'll say the same thing. It's competitive. Everybody trying to get to the point where they can be in one of these 8 slots to get into the NCAA tournament.
Of course, here you get to the month of March. We saw that in the GLIAC tournament. If you get into the field, you give yourselves a chance. The Bulldogs have to be feeling like that kind of on both sides. They both were a little nervous maybe on Sunday night during the selection show, but both got back into the field. The men as a number 5 seed, the women as a 7 seed, and both teams have to feel like they have an opportunity here. 3 wins in the course of about 4 days, and you give yourselves a chance to go back to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I think some of that anxiety is certainly understandable. But I think one thing that both teams can really feel good about is that they both embraced a very tough schedule, a very challenging schedule that tested them with tough non-conference games. You know what you're going to get in the GLIAC on the men's and women's side. Both Bulldog teams tested themselves with really tough competition and did well. The women's team with a number of quality wins over the course of the season. Same with the men's team, inside and outside of reach, and some really reputation-defining type wins that really look good on your resume come NCAA tournament time. And so that's put them in this position to be able to travel a little shorter for the Bulldog women. I mean, they only have to go down the road here, down US 131, a little longer for the men's team heading to Springfield, Illinois. But you get a chance to keep your season alive in the NCAA tournament.
Of course, you're excited for the entire team, the entire coaches, and everyone involved with both basketball programs. But most importantly, I think you got to be really pleased and thrilled for the seniors on each team. Yes. And, on the women's basketball side, Kenzie Bowers, the one senior that's still on the floor, and obviously Deshauna Day, still a big part of the program for Ferris State. Love to see the fact that Kenzie gets to play another game in a Bulldog uniform.
Yeah, I'm really excited for her. I know you imagine she was feeling some significant emotions after losing in the GLIAC tournament championship game, but then by the end of the evening, and it was a little later into the evening for the selection show, that smile was back on her face, and she gets a chance to keep it going with her teammates. And so I'm sure that's really, really exciting for her. Same on the men's side, a number of outstanding seniors that have really left an incredible legacy on this program. They are going to get a chance to continue as well. So it's really exciting.
Really exciting on the men's side. You talk about those seniors, Ethan Erickson, Reese Hazelton, Jimmy Scholler, Dang Rang. We'll speak later with Coach Bronkema. He mentions Kenny Turner, who, of course, has been a big part of the program this year. But for those other four guys, just to be back once again in the national tournament, 9th time in 11 seasons, really speaks volumes for the history and the tradition of Ferris State basketball.
Yeah, the success of that group has been remarkable. And the things that they have been through over the course of their careers, and to persevere and to battle their way through to this point, and to really have that tradition handed to them, while at the same time they took that tradition, and they have been great caretakers of that Ferris State basketball tradition. And so salute to those seniors, and boy, you'd love to see them keep it going as long as possible.
We'll have a great show for you here today on the Bulldog Beat basketball show presented by Two Hats Ranch. We'll hear from both head coaches, Andy Bronkema and Kurt Westendorp, over the course of this hour as we gear up for the NCAA tournament. We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Beat basketball show after this timeout. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Beat basketball show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you, and joined now by the head coach of the Ferris State women's basketball team, Kurt Westendorp. Coach, first of all, welcome to the show.
Yeah, glad to be here with you guys.
What's it been like this week, just getting prepared and having an opportunity to play once again here in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, because you're coming off of last week where you really had to play our way in, and we did an excellent job of doing that, getting two really good wins. Falling a little bit short on Sunday. So yesterday on Monday was a great to just kind of get a little bit of a day off, a little bit of a rest for the girls. Not really a day off for the coaches, but a day off for the girls, because we played 7 straight days to put ourselves in this position, and there's a lot of emotions when you're on the bubble. It's a lot of stress. There's a lot of just worry and angst until you see your name called Sunday night. That's when you can finally have a little bit of that stress release, and it's like, okay, all that pent up aggression can kind of be let go. And then now you get through Monday, and it's like, okay, well, now you got to turn your sights to Ashland. Now you got to turn your sights to exactly what it is that you got to do to get your bodies prepared, and then to get your mind prepared. And I have to do a good job of making sure our scouts, being on point, because we've played Ashland before earlier this year, but it was back in November. And as you guys well know, lots of things have changed since November. So we really feel like we're blessed that we get a chance to keep competing. And now that we know that we're in, it's like, okay, we got 40 minutes and that's all you're guaranteed. But we had that mentality last year and we had some good results. So we're really trying to enjoy these moments.
How important, as you look back, were those 2 wins last week, just have a chance to get back into the tournament with how things kind of played out here in the region?
Well, our region is so good up and down. They're very good teams that are not playing in the NCAA tournament. Malone is an excellent team and they're at home. Northwood's an excellent team. They're at home. We had beaten a Drury team earlier in the year that, went 22-7 or something like that. And they're a really good team and they're at home. So we know that we're prepared, and we know that in our region, there's always going to be good teams that are left out. So we knew we had to had work cut out for us. With the losses to Wayne and the loss to Saginaw, we knew that we couldn't come in and lose to Roosevelt and expect to keep playing. So we kind of had that back against the wall mentality, able to get that win. And then it was a huge quality win for us over Northern, because Northern, you see it, reflected in the seeding. They're the number 3 seed in the region. So when you can knock off the number 3 seed in the region, you're proving to people that you belong in that conversation, that you can beat these good teams the way that we had earlier in the year. It was great for us to get one of those big wins that late in the year to kind of be that lasting impression on the committee.
Obviously, those last 2 games this past weekend in the GLIAC tournament against teams, even the Roosevelt one, you were playing for the 3rd time. How much does that change things when you're playing a team for the 3rd time in the season?
Well, there are no secrets. That you kind of know exactly everything that they have going. You can have a couple wrinkles up your sleeve. As coaches, we always have those, couple plays or a couple of sets that you're like, okay, well, they're going to think we're running it this way. I got to get the wrinkle ready. But those only take account for a couple possessions a game. The game is going to have, hundreds of plays that have to be made. And our wrinkles can maybe take up, maybe 5 or 6 of those plays. You try to use those in the key moments, to try to have a little bit of an advantage. But a lot of it's for our kids being on the court for another 40 minutes with those same girls. They competed them with 40 minutes. Then you play them again. It's kind of like an NBA series. The more that you spend time on the court with other people, you pick up more and more on some of those little tendencies. What matchups can you really attack? What matchups do you need to try to avoid? So when you're playing a team for the 3rd time, it's like, okay, the secrets are all gone, but you're really feeling out those matchups a little bit more and more, and our kids are feeling it out too. Kenzie was able to find a lot of really good space in that Northern game late. And it took us a while to try to find, some space where she could go be creative, and then she was able to create a couple of those late buckets for us. Mia Riley did a good job creating. Maya did an excellent job of rebounding, getting in there. And we were able to just kind of create just enough and learn just enough as the game ebbed and flowed to be in good position to win.
And tell us a little bit, let's go back to that Northern Michigan game, your 3rd game against Northern Michigan. You had a couple of tough regular season games against them. What did you sense from the team coming into that game, and what do you think were some of your keys to success to kind of reverse what happened in the regular season?
Yeah, well, the mental focus was there. Like, I can tell you that right away. When a team beats you by 30 and then 25 or 27, like in both of those games, you're like, okay, well, it didn't just happen once, it happened twice. So we really went back and we watched a lot of that from that second game, because from the first game to the second game, we really felt like the first game against them was the worst basketball we had played probably in 4 years. We really had a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and you can't have self-inflicted wounds against a good team. And Northern is an excellent team that took advantage of us inside and outside. So going into the game at Northern, we felt a lot more confident, going into that game. We're like, okay, we can get some of these things corrected. And then we came out and, it kind of happened again, where like it was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. I feel like defensively, we were okay at certain points. Then I made some changes in that second game, going a little bit zone, and they got hot and it kind of got away from us. And then in that second half, you're playing from so far behind, you're playing out of character. So we knew going into the third game, like, okay, we're not going to play any zone. They don't have a ton of great outside shooters. The 2 they have are excellent, but they don't have a lot of them. So we felt like we could do it a little bit, but they ran some really good zone offense against us those first 2 games. So going into the tournament game, we knew we weren't going to zone them, and we really did change up a lot of things that we do defensively. We'd usually try to get around and front the post, really have strong backside help, kind of have to X out on some switches. We were like, we're going to play a little bit more behind, try to cover the post, come with a few double teams. So we really went into it going like, okay, we ran out one game plan 2 times in a row, and it sure as heck didn't work. So, all right, I'll take those, I'll take those, and we'll now. Our girls knew like, yep, we're going to try something different. And they really bought into it. And they bought into like, okay, yep, we're going to do these things. They're going to get some points in the post because their post players can score. They might get a couple kick out threes on us here and there because we're coming to double team, but we can weather those storms. And we did a great job in the game of, staying in closer touch with them. They never really went on any runs, whereas the first 2 regular season games, they got a lot of runs on us. And this game, they didn't really get those runs. They might have got like a 5 or 6 point spurt, but we answered every single time. And the deeper and deeper you get into those kind of games where a team had beaten you like that, you start to be the team that believes a little bit more like, okay, we got this now. Even though we were losing, it was like, okay, we got this. We're sticking right with them. We'll close it out. And that belief just started to grow and grow and grow. And you saw it in the fourth quarter.
And what's been the glue for your team this year? Because you guys have faced a lot of adversity in terms of injuries and things. But this team just has really stuck together, even down the stretch when, as you mentioned, you guys were on the bubble and you really pulled together. Great game against Northern Michigan. What's been the glue that's held this team together?
Well, they're just such a tight-knit group of group of girls. Like they truly do love each other. Like, and a lot of teams say that, but like these girls, they really do love each other, and they're willing to do what I'm asking them to do with some different lineups at times as well. Yeah. So like I've had to change up, multiple times, like, okay, now we're going to play two bigs a little bit and Claire's going to start. Okay, Allie was starting for a stretch when, I had decided to bring Shauna off the bench, and there really hasn't been like that complaining. It's just every girl wants to step up for each other, and sometimes we play good basketball and sometimes we don't, but we're always a tight-knit group, and they're always pulling for one another. I think they're always each other's biggest fans, and they know that, like, okay, in some of those big moments, like, okay, you just got to step up and try to make the plays. And if you make it, I'm going to give you a hug. If you miss it, I'm going to give you a hug. Like, they feel like they have that support of each other. And, they feel it from the injured players as well that haven't had a chance to take the court in a while or ever. They feel the support of like each other. And I really think that's been one of our strengths over the past, 4 or 5 years, is like we have a pretty good tight knit group of kids that when things go wrong, they don't all splinter and go their separate ways and start trying to like, okay, I'll try to figure it out on my own, or you figure it out on your own. Like, they do a good job of staying together and trusting the message that's coming, and they really do believe in whatever plan that we're putting out there for them.
And you guys are all hands on deck right now with your lineup. So if you're in uniform, you're going to play and you're going to contribute. That being said, you've had some freshmen that have had to really step in and maybe arrive ahead of schedule. And what have you seen from them? Yeah,
both Grace and Alyssa have done a really good job of I think they've grown really well as the season goes on. All coaches kind of make the joke, by the time you're a February of your freshman year, you're not a freshman anymore. You got 20 games under your belt. Like, all right, now you should kind of know what it's like. And I think you can both see that when you watch both of them on the court, just the difference in confidence that they have from, even December to now. Grace is a great example that, like, she wasn't seeing as many minutes. Alyssa might have been seeing a few more spot minutes. And there was times when Grace would get the ball, things would like kind of stall a little bit, or she wasn't quite playing reactive, not quite being the natural player that she is. And now, I can't remember what game it was where she drilled 4 threes, and it was like, okay, a lot more confidence is coming. The ball got to her and she was looking to be aggressive with it right away instead of just trying to move the basketball, and she's been getting some minutes in some of these key games when she's not getting a lot of extended ones, but I think she's growing a little bit more and more confident. She rebounds really well for a guard. She sticks her nose in there and can elevate. She's not shy. So I'm really proud of her growth. And then Alyssa is the one that had the big game on Saturday. And she's it's going to take time with post players. It always does. Whenever a post player comes in as a freshman, usually it's a lot different from high school to college because you're going up against kids your same size. I know there's no one that has that same height that Alyssa has, but a lot of people have the similar strength. So she's just kind of learning and growing. And the great part about Alyssa is she has such a carefree attitude. And it's not that she doesn't care. She does care greatly, but when she steps out there, she's growing more and more confident where it's like, yeah, I can do some of these. She's seeing some of the success happen. Knocking down a 3 at Northern in the regular season. I think that gave her a lot of confidence that in the semifinal game when she had it, she took it. She takes those shots in practice, and we're starting to get a little bit more out of her down on the block as well. Where we're getting her a little bit better position. She's starting to play a little bit more physical, because she's big and strong and it's tough to move her. Sometimes she plays a little bit too standing upright, which is that's something that when you're 6'5" and have been the tallest kid your entire life, you kind of just put your hands up, you stay tall, and you keep the ball high. Well, now in college, these girls are pushing you. And when they push her, sometimes she gets a little off balance. So when she plays lower and stronger and gets a little better angles at the basket, she can score the ball down in there. And defensively, I think she's gaining a lot more confidence and communication. And we're trying to put her in some of the right spots where it is good matchups for her because, she can defend by the rim excellent. A little bit on the outside, that's where she's got to continue to grow and get better. But both of those two are really stepping up into those opportunities, and they're really making a mark.
And what are the characteristics of a Bulldog player when you're going on the road and you're recruiting and you're identifying players that you want to bring into this program, looking at the players that you have now, looking at the players that you're looking at in the future? What are the characteristics of a Bulldog?
You got to try to find competitors. You got to try to find people that win. And you can still recruit some players off of high school programs that might struggle a little bit as long as like that kid really has that Bulldog mentality and they're out there really competing every single day. But we have a lot of kids on our team that are winners. We got state champions. We have state runners up. You got a lot of people that played really high quality AAU basketball. Obviously you're looking for the measurables first is the first thing that jumps out to everybody. It's like, okay, can she play in the GLIAC? And then it's like, okay, do they have the skill level? And there's also a lot of those players, but a lot of players, like I said, have both the measurables, they have the skill level. It's like, okay, now who can you win championships with? You know, who's going to really fight when things get down? You know, who has a little bit of that edge? You know, I think we have a lot of people that do have that edge, and those are the players that kind of jump to the top of that recruiting board. Those are the players that get offered those scholarships, you know, a little bit earlier. And we don't offer probably as many scholarships as like a lot of other schools. You know, we kind of keep our recruiting a little bit tighter than some schools that offer a big swath of people. And that's because we want to make sure that we're getting kids that know how to win, you know how to fight, and just have some of those characteristics that, you know, even if they have flaws in their game, they have the work ethic that it's going to take to overcome some of those flaws that they might have as high schoolers, that we know you can improve upon those things and learn how to play college basketball, which is what a lot of our kids really right now that are getting a lot of time, they've learned how to play basketball their freshman and sophomore year, and now they're really stepping into their junior years and having great years.
And one more question before I kick it back to Rob. How do those characteristics help you when you're in NCAA tournament week here? You step into this week where, you know, it's win or go home time. How do those characteristics really translate into a week like this?
Well, you know it's not going to go perfect. You're playing an Ashland team on Friday that you're not getting, everything you draw up isn't going to work. You know, there's going to be a lot of plays that need to be made that aren't coaching plays, that aren't, you know, not in the scouting report. You know, it's going to come down to a couple rebounds here and there, loose balls, okay, an open court possession, the play broke down, all right. Are you looking to get back to a perfect situation where you're trying to execute exactly to please your coach, or are you out there just trying to compete and play and win? And I think that we did a great job in that Northern game, you know, of making a lot of those plays. You know, in the Roosevelt game, we made a lot of those plays. You know, the Grand Valley game, we didn't make as many of those plays. You know, Grand Valley's defense was excellent. We kind of had to learn from that too. So we know we're going to get in some of those moments, and some teams just crumble when they get, you know, faced with some of that adversity and some of that, things aren't going quite our way. You know, we know that we just got to find some way anyway to win a possession, to try to win a game. So I think the mentality really comes through, because it's going to be some times where you're going to feel your own mortality as a team. We talk about that with our captains group with about, you know, a couple weeks ago in the season, we talk about you're going to get in that moment where it's going to be like, holy cow, 3 minutes to go or we're done. And it's like, are you going to freak out and try to do it all by yourself? Or are we going to go back to, no, we're going to execute what we had done all season long, because those are the things that will give us a chance to win. So hopefully when we get in those moments on this weekend, because they're going to come this weekend, whether it's any game you play in, you're going to face some of those moments. You're not going to be up by 20 the whole time. And it's like, okay, how do you respond, and what kind of possessions do you get out of your teams? You're not always going to make the shots. We're not always going to win all of these games, but what kind of possessions are you getting? You know, where are you mentally focused? Are you giving it your best effort? Like, those are the things we try to talk about and focus on, and not get so caught up in like, is it going to go in or not go in? Because sometimes that is out of your control.
Coach, I know we talked on Sunday at the end of the Grand Valley game. You were one of those teams, maybe kind of on the bubble, a group of 4 or 5 teams there that you knew some teams weren't going to make the NCAA tournament. What was it like, I guess, when you heard your name called? You've been kind of on both sides of it before, where you know you're in the tournament, and sometimes you think you are. But what was it like just when the girls saw their name called, and obviously for Kinsey having a chance to play again in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's a lot of emotions all at once. Like, I don't think I could go through all of them, because yes, it was a bunch of nervous energy. You know, relief is one that kind of does come to mind, because it's like you feel like you've done a good job, and it's like you just hope it gets acknowledged. So a little bit of it as a coach, because I might stress myself out more than I need to. Both me and Andy, you know, we might be a little more on the worrying side. So for us, it's a little more relief. But it was nice to see the girls. You know, I think when I saw the name come up, I think every arm shot up. You know, I think you had, boom, you see the video that's posted right there. I think every arm shot up, and just that excitement level like that they had, you know, I think that's the emotion that you need to have. You know, relief as a coach, it's like, okay, maybe I stress myself out too much, but seeing like the joy and just the, we did it, you know, attitude of like, yep, we got acknowledged. We get to go do this again. Now there's no more stress, really. Like, the stress was kind of about getting to this point where, are you in or are you out? Because that's kind of our number one goal every year, is get to the tournament. Because you get to the tournament, anything can happen. So we got another bite at the apple now. We get a chance to kind of go do all those things that we got to accomplish last year. You know, we competed really well 3 years ago at Ashland, a game that went right down to the wire that we didn't win. You just want a chance to be playing in these games. So it's a great sense of accomplishment. I talked to the team before practice today. We pointed up at the banner. You know, it's like the number 2025 is going up on that NCAA tournament banner. You know, we've left our mark. You know, it's a team that will always get acknowledged, because that number will always be on the banner. And now it's like, okay, well, now let's start adding that number to a couple of those other banners, and you can kind of turn your attention to, all right, we got a chance to go do do some great things and have a lot of fun while we're doing it, just lay it all on the line again. So it was a great sense of release, a great sense of excitement. Now it's like, okay, let's get to work and kind of try to earn some more of those memories.
Finally here, I know you had a chance after the selection show to kind of talk with both teams, the men and the women. What's it been like? You just mentioned 3 of those seasons where we had both teams here in the NCAA tournament and having both teams here in the NCAA tournament once again.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point to both teams as we were leaving there, just not to take it for granted. I think sometimes, when you do it as often as we've had a chance to do it, and I know there's other teams that probably have done it more, but like you don't want to take those moments for granted because they are fleeting. You can't just be like, oh yeah, well, of course we're going to be in the tournament, because then you're going to have an attitude that you don't have to be your very best on every single day. So I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge the guys, because like they had an amazing season, but again, nothing is guaranteed. Trying to enjoy these moments with each other. It's great that, Andy and I have been able to have such a good relationship in our time here, and our teams have been able to have good success together. And it's really a shared experience. They were here for our selection show. They were here half an hour early to be there for us, and we didn't know if we were going to be crying happy tears or sad tears. And then we didn't know if they were going to be crying happy tears or sad tears. We just wanted to be there for each other, not take these moments for granted, really enjoy them and live it up, and then, really be motivated to go out and represent Ferris really well in the NCAA tournament again, like so many of our teams have done. Now it's just our turn to do it again in this March.
Well, Coach, thanks for the time, and best of luck here. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again before Friday's game.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Beat basketball show presented by Two Hats Ranch after this timeout. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Beat basketball show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you. We're joined now by the head coach of the Ferris State men's basketball team, Andy Bronkema. And Coach, first of all, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, and I love what you guys are doing here. So thanks for having me.
Well, congratulations on making the NCAA tournament again. I know kind of old hat, but never does get old. 9th time in I think the last 11 seasons, the Bulldog men's team has made the national tournament.
Yeah. It does not get old, and it is an accomplishment that's unique to every year's team. So we're proud of the past and the history here, and not just my time here, but all the other coaches that came before me. I mean, that's one thing about Ferris State that's pretty special. You can go back in every decade and see success in the men's basketball program, and that type of history is something that you have to embrace. And, there's been a lot of winners here, but 9 times in 11 years, two groups have went through 4 years in a row, which is, extremely special and hard to do. And, this year's team, they earned it. They lost, 6 teammates from the year before that were, 66% of all the stats and the minutes and everything else. And we brought a few new guys in, and they came together and put a resume together that qualified them. So very proud of them. Fell a little short, in the regular season, 3rd seed, and, got to the Final Four of the tournament and couldn't get it done. But, total body of work. We gave everything we had in every game, and we weren't victorious in all of them, but we really gave it a great effort, and we're going into the tournament as, it's wide open, and we're a dangerous team for sure. We stay focused, and everybody plays, to their skill set. I like our chances in any game.
Obviously, last week you came off the finish of the regular season, a big win over Saginaw Valley. You come into the tournament, you had to play Wayne State again in a rematch. As you look back now after what happened this past weekend in the region, just how important was that victory on Wednesday night?
That was huge. And, Wayne elevating to the level that they have this year, above 500. And, that turns into a quality win. And also a chance to redeem yourself from 6 days earlier. So that was a big win. And even playing Lake State in the semis with their win percentage, it just boosts your strength of schedule. And the teams that ended up being top 4 in the GLIAC are all in the tournament and all have fantastic records. So, that was big for our resume. And, that win against Wayne State was hard fought, and we needed that, and we wanted to stack a few more, but we were unable to do that. And now we're turning the page to the final chapter.
Obviously, you mentioned the GLIAC, 4 teams getting in, and all 4 led by quality head coaches. Just what's it like competing against those guys? Just saw all of those guys at the GLIAC tournament this past weekend, and now going to see them again here in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of respect, I'll tell you that. And, every university and program has their little shiny things. And the bottom line is we're all trying to do the same thing. So when you look at it from that lens, you can't help but, be happy for your colleagues and respect what they're doing. So, great coaches, fantastic players, and, in the national tournament, those 3 teams are kind of on the other side of the bracket, which, we played plenty of conference teams in the national tournament, so we've done our share of that. But for us, it's nice this year because when you go to the nationals, you don't really want to repeat of the conference tournament, and that's the regional format in the NCAA D2. But they'll be fighting it out, and if we were playing another conference team in the national tournament, that would be the most wonderful problem to have, because we'd be in the Sweet 16 and fight for the Elite 8. So it's been a good year for our conference and some really strong teams.
Obviously, for your seniors, what does it mean for that group just to have a chance to go back and have another chance to compete for a regional title this weekend?
I think maybe it's a breath of fresh air, because we did accomplish something. There will be a year going on, the national tournament appearance banner, and kept a streak alive for that group. So, going in and knowing that we've got something to show, even though I tell them, like, look, that you give everything you got, and if you don't have any rings or championships, that's enough too. But when it's not enough is when you kind of, take a deep breath and don't give it your all. And that's not what this group has done. And this group is just adding to their legacy. And we talk about this place and leaving a legacy, and that's talked about less in college sports now because guys are, right or wrong, they're bouncing around a lot, so their legacies are different. But this particular group has been here. We added Kenny. Proud of Kenny because he suffered a season-ending injury, and he's going to be a Bulldog for life, and you just know that about him. And but that core group, and what they've done for Ferris State and for me, it's remarkable.
Does it, when you go through the GLIAC regular season and then into the tournament, is it like a iron sharpens iron thing, because you guys are just beating up on each other all year long, and you're pushing each other every game, and we say on the radio, it's like, well, it's going to be another GLIAC game here. It's going to be another GLIAC game. It's going to be another GLIAC game. What's it like running the gauntlet in the GLIAC?
I think it does prepare you. I really do. And one thing I know about all the conferences everywhere and all the coaches, it's similar. So everybody thinks that about their league, and everybody has that type of respect for the most part. But a lot of our numbers back it up, and our past teams advancing, and they back it up. So it definitely doesn't prepare. It's not like it doesn't prepare us, right? So we could say that for sure. And we're battle tested, but with only 8 teams out of 38 making it, everybody's battle tested. So there are great teams in the Midwest region that don't make the tournament. So it's not like if your conference is a little bit, tougher top to bottom, or in the end, it doesn't really matter because only the teams that are great are making it. So it's just going to be a dogfight between the 3 conferences once again. But it prepares you, and we have Tech and Northern about ready to play each other for the 4th time. So their iron sharpens iron isn't over yet, and we've done that a couple different times too. And Sandy, I don't like that about the Division II tournament. I do not like that. I don't think it's fair to the student athletes. I can understand it at a certain level, the regional format, but if they could cross some regions or even make it a national tournament, I mean, most people would prefer that. But there's finances and travel, and there's a lot of different things to it. But that's our format, and that's the rules we got to play by, and that means you're going to play some conference foes in the national tournament.
And if you're Michigan Tech, the last team you played was Northern Michigan.
Yeah, it's back to back, and it looked like, we're not on the committee, but it looked like it was going to be Lake State and Northern or Tech and Northern. It looked like that was going to be the case, and ended up being Tech. And like I said, we've done that. We've been there, done that a few times, and it's its own interesting dynamic because it's also a team you can beat because you played them and you know what it's going to take. And the scout isn't as hard because it's fresh. So, and particularly for Northern and Tech, that's what a rivalry, right? Yeah. We go up there to the Tech was a great host, by the way, and
yes, they were.
And that place was pretty much packed for that rivalry, and the energy was in the building. So, and I know those fans are going to travel well, and it's going to be another addition to their rivalry.
It is. Talk about the tradition of basketball here at Ferris State. I know we could go on forever talking about the tradition of basketball at Ferris State, but you and Kurt are the holders of that tradition right now as the head coaches, and you guys take a lot of pride. You guys were able to celebrate getting into the NCAA tournament together with the watch party. And how do you guys feel being the ones that are right now in the driver's seat of those traditions and trying to keep that thing going? Because it's been a great tradition, and you guys seem to be really tight and keeping this thing going, him from the women's side and you from the men's side.
Yeah, it's kind of a two-part question, right? The relationship with the men's and women's team is exactly what it needs to be. There's friendships, respect for one another, and a lot of support, and that should never change because that's an awesome dynamic. And we do travel with them for conference games, and it works out so well. So really appreciate that. And if you like it, you got to foster it. And then it's just as far as being the torchbearer, I feel a huge sense of responsibility, as the head coach here to continue to put the best effort forward, for the tradition. And to stay connected to the tradition. We've got banners in the gym and the wall of honor and, relationships and phone calls and connecting with people, the alumni game and all the different things that we do to stay connected. And for me, now being here 18 years, 12 as the head coach, that's a long period of time of connecting with a lot of people that are proud to wear the Bulldog, and it takes time, and I'm only one person connecting with a lot of people, but I see that as a huge responsibility of the head coach to embrace that tradition and to let people know about the tradition. Coach Ludwig was in practice this year, and I'm thinking about Danny Hayes making to the Hall of Fame and introducing him to the team. And I just got off the phone with Amari Lee, who graduated last year, and had a great conversation with him. Guys texting all the time. Greg Williams getting married this summer. I mean, it goes on and on and on just to keep these relationships. I talked to Dean Davenport this week, and Perk Weisenberger was in the stands, and there's just a lot of people that have invested in the Bulldog, our brand, our university, and to be their head coach, that's a huge responsibility, and I don't take it lightly.
And to carry on with that, we were down in Detroit, and we had so many Bulldogs that are down in Detroit that came up, and I know they had a chance to chop it up with you a little bit before and after the game. And what's it like looking up in the stands? I know you're busy during the game, but looking up in the stands and knowing that there's former Bulldogs coming to, whether you guys are on the road or at home. We had guys down in Indianapolis last year at the regional tournament. Those guys want to remain connected, and as you mentioned, they do feel that Bulldog pride.
I mean, it's the best part of the job for sure. Specifically at Wayne State, we took a hard loss, and it's a little therapeutic to go see Walt Kelser and his father and just embrace and catch up, and then, see Deshaun Munson and Coach got my degree in the mail. That's
awesome.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And catch up with Sean and the Ammermans were there and the Davisons, and then and even Coach Moan. He got the victory that day, and to see him and his wife Damo and his son and how big his son is getting, and just like, okay, we took a hard loss, but man, it's cool to tickle his son and just mess around with him, and Uncle Bronx, and it's very rewarding. And then we go up to Michigan Tech, And, Vegas is there. And even when we went there on the trip during the regular season, we were able to eat dinner at his house. I mean, all those things are the things that you really, as coaches, you should write down because when you're in the agony of defeat, the thrill of victory is great, but the agony of it and just the toils, those things are pretty cool. And to think that you can have an impact that matters in people's lives, and you're trying to set them up, and you're something to them, you're coach to them, pretty good stuff.
Coach, as you guys get ready for the NCAA tournament this week, I know in the past you go to the national tournament, you really tried to make this an experience for the guys that they'll remember for a long time. Just talk about that opportunity, new opportunity here this week in playing in the national tournament.
Well, first of all, and you make it special regardless. But I will say this: it's easier to make it special now because of the investment of the university, and how invested they are in our program and our athletic department. So there was a day when it was a little bit harder to do some things. I will say that. So I'm counting our blessings, and the players, they don't really feel it, they don't really know it, and they shouldn't on a lot of fronts. But really appreciate the support. I mean, it allows us to give these guys an experience where they're going to want to give back, and where they're going to have a great feeling about their time here and an immense amount of pride. So it's twofold though. You want to give a good experience, but it's a business trip too. It's like, hey, all your mental energy and focus is going towards winning. And if it derails into where we're eating or what museum we're going to or how much fun we're going to have at the hotel staying up late or something, it's a business trip. And it is an opportunity to represent our university again on a big stage, and you can't mix that up. If you get just happy to be there, then that's the wrong message too. So it's twofold. We're going to enjoy ourselves in the experience, and you put some gaudy numbers out there, right? 9 and 11 years, and what if it happens 0 times in the next 11 years? And you can fight hard and have it not happen, or go through spells where there's injuries or there's change or there's things out of your control, and everything you can control you're doing, but you're not making it. I mean, this is really special. Coach Saul always told me championships, things like this are uncommon. And when you start to think that it's a birthright or common, you're just in the wrong headspace. So we're going to enjoy it, Robert. We're going to have a fun time. More time, 2 more practices in Wink Arena guaranteed here, and then on the trip with these guys, I am going to enjoy it. It's probably the thing I do the worst, quite honestly, is enjoy the process. And as I get better as a coach, I find better ways to enjoy it. And certainly that's something I can get better at, but I'm going to do it.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time today, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you again before tip-off on Saturday night.
Yep. Hey, congratulations on 25 years, too, Robert.
Thank you.
2-5, man. You the man, so appreciate you.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Beat Basketball Show, presented by Two Hats Ranch, right after this break. And welcome back, everyone, to our final segment here on the Bulldog Beat Basketball Show, presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you as both Ferris State men's and women's basketball squads gear up for the NCAA Tournament this weekend. The Bulldog women hitting the floor on Friday down at the Grand Valley State Fieldhouse as they take on the Ashland Eagles, a 2:30 start in the second quarterfinal round matchup. And then on Saturday night in Springfield, Illinois, will be the Ferris State men's basketball team, an 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tip as they square off against Missouri St. Louis here in the national tournament, and a new season here in the month of March for both programs.
Well, it's time to buckle up, and we were road warriors last year in the GLIAC tournament and then into the NCAA tournament. So we're looking forward to being road warriors again and bringing the action. There's nothing like it. Calling NCAA tournament games. And, we've had a chance to call a lot over the years, and I never take it for granted. I know you never take it for granted either. It's a great experience, and it's great for us to be able to describe an experience that the student athletes and the coaches are living. And so it's their experience, and it's a privilege for us to be able to bring it to the fans.
Of course, we'll have a chance to call both Ferris State basketball teams in the national tournament, and that's a lot of fun. That's the highlight of the weekend, watching these teams compete, these student athletes for Ferris State. But it's a lot of fun being a couple basketball guys just sitting there and watching those other quarterfinal round games going on. And we'll have a chance, at least on the men's side, to probably catch parts of all three of them before the Bulldogs take the floor in that final quarterfinal matchup.
It is a lot of fun, and I go back to when we were up in Houghton, and to get a chance to see a Northern Michigan Tech game at Houghton. I mean, that was an incredible experience to go there, and the building was packed with fans, and obviously it was a rivalry game, so it was just a lot of energy in the building, and it was a thriller that came right down to the end. And so I don't know if I'm qualified to say it was a classic Northern Michigan Tech game, because I've only really seen them on stream, but to see one in person was absolutely fantastic. And looking forward to seeing some of these NCAA tournament games. I'm sure we're going to see some of the same level of excitement. We're going to get to see another Tech Northern game in the NCAA tournament as well.
You mentioned the Tech Northern game, and obviously we weren't the only broadcasters in the building. Doug Gottlieb, broadcaster, and the current head coach at Wisconsin Green Bay in there, maybe doing some scouting. We're not entirely sure. Maybe he was just a big Tech Northern fan.
Yeah, he might have been, or he might have wanted to walk into the teeth of the storm after the game earlier this year between Green Bay and Michigan Tech, won by the Huskies, by the way. A really, really good Michigan Tech team. And so, it was interesting to just see Doug Gottlieb walk through and kind of post up behind the Northern Michigan bench. But certainly an interesting subplot to that game.
The good news is this week we won't have to go up to the Upper Peninsula and maybe drive through some snow. Roads weren't bad up there when we were up there, but they had some snow earlier in the week. And at least this week we're going south to Allendale and then off to Springfield.
Yeah, so we're anticipating, fingers crossed, for some warmer temperatures as things are starting to warm up. Spring is trying to make an early arrival, though maybe not necessarily a permanent arrival, because winter can sneak up on us a little bit here in late March, and then of course maybe sometimes even into April. So we'll see, but we're headed to some fun locations. Illinois Springfield is not a location that I'm super familiar with, so I'm excited to go and visit some new territory. We've been to Grand Valley a few times over the years, so a little bit of an understanding about what it's like to go down there. But excited about these two tournaments, and looking forward to seeing some great competition.
Of course, both Ferris State teams will be on the road here as they leave midweek for the tournament. Actually leaving, I believe, today to head off on the women's side here, arriving on Wednesday night. The men as well, and both teams will gear up. They'll have a chance to practice on the official game floor coming up the day before the opening tip. So should be a lot of fun, a great experience here for all these student athletes here in the national tournament representing Ferris State University.
Well, we know that, Andy Bronkema on the men's side and Kurt Westendorp on the women's side as head coaches, they are obviously about business. They stand on business, and they want their teams to be successful, and they want to make sure they do all the preparation that's necessary. And you're going to find too many coaches that outwork Coach Bronkema and Coach Westendorp. But they also do want a really good overall experience for the student athletes. It's spring break on campus at Ferris State this week. And so they want to be able to have their student athletes certainly prepare to win and be ready to win and have a winning mindset, but they also want them to have a good experience.
Of course, Ferris State here last year, both teams went off to the regional tournament. Both captured regional championships on the women's side for the first time in school history. On the men's side, first time since winning that national title in 2018. We had a chance to go to both Elite Eights. The women reaching the national semifinals a year ago. And I think at one time last year we called it the basketball capital of Michigan right here in Big Rapids. And maybe the same could be said again this year as both teams make the national tournament. And hopefully we'll have a chance to move on here in March Madness.
Yeah, it certainly feels like we had some great basketball going here in Big Rapids. It's just so exciting to be able to have that experience. And there's so many great men's and women's combination basketball programs, and obviously Minnesota State winning both national championships was pretty impressive. Gannon had both teams, I think, in the national tournament. There was another team, I think, that had both teams. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was really great to see. I don't know, that was the three teams that had both teams in the national tournaments. And so it just was great to see. And certainly Ferris State and Big Rapids feel really good. Some great high school basketball in Big Rapids as well. So just a lot of fun.
Got to give a shout out to the Bulldog fans. We had a graphic out there this past week. Ferris State led the GLIAC in attendance, average attendance, total attendance here over the course of this past season, not only for men's basketball, but also for women's basketball.
Yeah, it's just a testament to the Bulldog fans and how they've come out and supported. And just so people are aware, even when we've had over winter break where the students were not here, we had a great showing from the Big Rapids community, other local communities that really came out and supported us and cheered us on. And so it's really great to not only have a great campus fan base, but to also be blessed to have a great fan base from the city of Big Rapids, Mecosta County. We saw people from different neighboring counties and cities that came and supported Ferris State. And so we're really blessed to have great Bulldog fans.
Of course, we've seen that for many years, that community support on the men's basketball side, especially. You think back to the days of Jim Wink, Tom Ludwig, a lot of people very familiar with the history of this Ferris State basketball program that we kind of talked about with Coach Bronkema here today.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the roots of a lot of what we've seen and coaches that, take pride in getting out into the community and speaking to different groups and engaging, doing community service, acts and going to some of the local elementary schools and all kinds of things that where our student athletes and coaches get a chance to interact with the community and then the community vice versa. And so it really brings together a strong bond between campus and community town gown. It just is great to see, and that support is just so meaningful on both sides.
When you look at this women's regional field, of course, the women's regional begins on Friday with 4 quarterfinal round matchups. You look at the women's field, you got 3 teams that were right at the top of the region a year ago, and Grand Valley, Ashland, and Ferris State. Obviously, the Bulldogs kind of pulling off a couple big upsets a year ago, beating Ashland in the regional semifinals, then beating Grand Valley in the regional championship in what was one of the most incredible women's basketball environments we've ever seen. And, certainly those programs are going to be 3 that people are looking at coming back to the national tournament this year, but you got Northern Michigan's had a great season. We talked about Lewis, just a couple losses on the year. So some great basketball here in kind of a wide open field, although Grand Valley is the host school.
Yeah, I think on the women's side, certainly Grand Valley coming in as a strong favorite, obviously being the host team and being like basically 1 or 2 almost the entire year. And so they're really good. But, Ashland is a really good basketball team with a great tradition. Ferris State is certainly brought that program up to a high level, winning their first ever regional championship a year ago. And so it's going to be a competitive field and Grand Valley comes in as a favorite, but knowing the coaches the way we do at Grand Valley, they're not taking anything for granted. They know they're going to have to prepare just as hard or not harder than anybody else to be able to get a regional championship trophy.
Of course, on the men's side, Ferris State enters the national tournament 25-8 overall. On the men's side, we know half the field is we've got 3 other GLIAC schools right there along with the Bulldogs, and we certainly know that any of those 4 teams are capable of putting together 3 great games and having a chance to win the regional. Don't know as much about the other 4 schools in the field, but we know those GLIAC teams are going to be very competitive.
Well, I think when you look at the GLIAC section of the field, and I think a great example of what you just said is Northern Michigan, the run that Northern Michigan made in the GLIAC tournament. For them to be able to upset, if you want to call it that, against Michigan Tech, the host school, was certainly very impressive. And then you could say that they upset Lake Superior State, to win the championship. And so, but were we really super surprised? Not really. I mean, these are all good basketball teams. And so you got Ferris State in there, Northern Michigan, Michigan Tech, Lake Superior. You got those teams in there and all feel like if we do the things that we're supposed to do on a given night, we can win that game. And so that's what it's about in the GLIAC.
We saw that a year ago with Ferris State on the men's side. You get into that GLIAC tournament. It was a close ball game. They get the win. They go to the semifinals. You trail Wayne State at halftime by double digits. You come back, you get the win. Had to take on Grand Valley State in a rivalry game in the GLIAC final. And then that momentum really carried over into the national tournament. A couple big wins to start off the national tournament. One of them against Northern Michigan a year ago in the first round. Then the Bulldogs knock off Indianapolis, the host school. in the semifinals, and then took on another GLIAC school in Lake Superior in that regional championship matchup.
You talk about a gauntlet. I mean, that's tremendous right there. And, going into that regional tournament, Northern had kind of had our number for a stretch of time. And the Bulldogs pulled off a great win against Northern Michigan, tremendous win against Northern Michigan. And then all of a sudden you play the host school, Indianapolis, tremendous basketball team. They get the ball up and down the floor. They rebound, very athletic, very talented. And to be able to upset them was a tremendous win, and it just shows you how hot we were. And then Lake Superior State, we got in a big hole early in that game against Lake Superior State in the regional championship game, and really had to fight and scratch and claw to get our way back into it, and eventually able to pull away from a very good Laker team to win that regional championship. So what an incredible run for Ferris State.
Of course, we know coming into this year's event, both teams, a lot of excitement just to be back in the field, but we know both teams are going to be well prepared, going to have a great week of preparation for a chance to hopefully make some noise here in March Madness.
Yeah, we've had a chance to see that and hear about that from Coach Westendorp, Coach Bronkema, and they're two guys that are pros and they've been there. They understand what it's all about. They understand the challenges that you face being in the NCAA tournament, and they're going to work hard to get their teams as prepared. And they'll get down there and get a feel for the court and get a feel for the environment and get their team settled in and have them in the best possible mindset with the best possible preparation to compete in the NCAA tournament.
Of course, we'll have all the coverage for you right here on Sunny 97.3 and online, FerrisStateBulldogs.com. The women's matchup again on Friday, 2:30 p.m. as the Bulldogs take on the Ashland Eagles, the number 2 seed in the second quarterfinal round matchup of the day at the Grand Valley State Fieldhouse in Allendale. Then we'll be off to Springfield, Illinois for the men's first round matchup as Ferris State takes on Missouri St. Louis on Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Down in Springfield, Illinois. So we're looking forward to having a chance to call both teams. We hope we get into some conflicts where Brandon Worth has to step in on Saturday night for at least the women's basketball matchup, but we'll wait and see how it all plays out.
Well, that would be a good thing for us if that does happen, because that means that we're winning. So if we run into conflict is a good thing in this case, because that means we're winning. And so we're all about winning, and we're excited and just looking forward to just nothing like being able to call NCAA tournament games.
Of course, big thanks goes out to Steve Masters at Sunny 97.3 for his work not only with the Bulldog Beat basketball show, but also all the coverage throughout the year. Of course, he'll be the man working with us here to get these NCAA tournament games on the air. Big thanks to Brody Kaiser, who helps with the production end of this production, and we'll hopefully have another episode coming up later on. We'll have to wait and see, hopefully next week following a couple regional championship victories.
Well, we're excited and looking forward to this being produced and on the air and available on YouTube, and that's going to be exciting. And boy, I tell you what, hopefully we'll be able to talk about some good things in the future here, and hopefully we'll have some great success in the regional tournaments.
That'll do it for this week's episode of the Bulldog Beat Basketball Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Thanks to all of our sponsors, including Two Hats Ranch. Big thanks to both of our head coaches for stopping by here on this week's show as well. And best of luck to both the Ferris State men's and women's basketball teams in the NCAA tournament this week. Have a great week, everyone, and tune in this weekend for Bulldog Basketball right here on the Bulldog Sports Network.